This week, it's all about the sloppy. We've got sloppy joes on the menu. We've got lentil sloppy joes over a baked potato with some Napa cabbage slaw. And then we've got hamburger sloppy joe on Joe's plate over a brioche bun. So stay tuned. Hi, welcome back to One Dish, Two Ways, and it's Sloppy Joe time. So I've actually got something a little bit started. So because we're kind of going to be doing these dually at the same time. So this is the standard sloppy joes, except that it doesn't use the manwich sloppy joes, which I will admit when we were first married, that's what my mom did. That's what I did. But actually, it's very simple. And I'm using a recipe from All Recipes. And then over here, I'm going to be making lentil sloppy joe. So this pan is ready. I can feel it. And it's ready to add 1 cup of the 3 1/3 cup water to it, because we're going to use that 1 cup to start our veggies to going. So for the lentil lasagna or the lentil sloppy joes, we've got onion and red bell pepper. So we're going to get those to start cooking. Oh, of course, dropped more. Okay, so those are going to start cooking. And then over here, it says to start the hamburger and let it cook for about 10 minutes, which it's, I don't know, maybe a 6 or 7 minutes in. And then you can go ahead and add your veggies to this one. And so I want to go, this is 1 1/2 cups of lean ground beef. So not 1 1/2 cups, 1 1/2 pounds. I can't even talk today, apparently. Okay, so we're going to add the bell pepper, and this one calls for green bell pepper and 1/2 of an onion, and my onion was a little large. So we're going to get that going. Now I like to use, this is a Pampered Chef one, but all kinds of people sell them, but it helps to break the meat up so you don't have those big old hunks. So I'm going to use that. I do have a spoon. We're ready to do it that way. So the nice thing is, again, now see, I did use the Google to help me find these recipes. I've made the lentil one before. This is a Forks Over Knives recipe, which that's the cooking class I got a certification in. It's just so easy. And I mean, they're basically using the same ingredients. Okay, that's rough on the ears, but yeah. It's just one's using green pepper over red, and if you prefer one or the other, you just do which one you like, or whichever one might be on sale. I was lucky all the peppers were on sale this week, so as we've gone through a lot today. So we're just going to get these going. But in general, you don't have to use the can of manwich because it's not very hard. I mean, it's just basically you can use water or broth and then ketchup and spices, and it's good to go. So we've got the veggies over here going for the lentil lasagna. We just need them to cook for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to add our other ingredients. Now, the recipe for the lentil lasagna or lentil sloppy joes calls for brown lentils, but I have green lentils, and I think those are interchangeably able to be used. Red's a little different. If you're new to lentils, red might be your best because they almost dissolve. So if you're just not sure about the texture of lentils, then I would say start there. If you're okay with that, then I think brown and green can be interchanged. And you wouldn't interchange them with split peas because split peas take a lot longer to take. You wouldn't think in the name that it wouldn't take, but they do take longer. And lentils, boy, is that a cheap protein to eat, because it is like a bag of lentils costs less than $1.50. I don't even know. Sometimes I can get them on sale for less than $1. And this is 1.5 cups of them. So it didn't even use a full bag. And I buy them in bulk. Oh, I must have put them away. And I just put them in mason jars and say lentils, and then I just have them in my stock. So I've always got those ready to go. And lentils is another thing about them is they don't take long to cook. Now this particular dish takes about 40 minutes to cook, but that's just because you're going to get everything nice and tender. But if you just need, lentils to go on a salad, or just you want to spice up some lentils, 15, 20 minutes in some sauce and everything, they just don't take that long. So speaking of that, let's just go ahead and start adding the rest of our ingredients to the lentil lasagna. So we've got 1 can. Ooh, why do I keep saying that? Lentil sloppy joes. I am so sorry. But clearly I'm wanting some lentil lasagna. So it called for fire roasted tomatoes. Yeah, I didn't have fire roasted. So I just used regular diced tomatoes, not the no salt version that I've had on the other recipes, but I had them in the cupboard, so I wanted to make sure I used them. So it also calls for 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. This is maple syrup sugar. So after they make the pure maple syrup, then they dry it out and they make this brown sugar. And I happened to find it at a farmer's market this summer in Iowa, right? We're in Iowa when I found that. So I've got the 2 tablespoons there. Go ahead and mix that around. Here's the spoon for this one. This is coming along good. Okay, so mix this around and let's add the rest of our ingredients here. We need to go ahead and add the lentils. And I've already looked through these and made sure there was no, anytime you have lentils or anything, you want to make sure you go through them, you rinse them off, make sure there's no little rocks or anything that looks like maybe you should get rid of that, because that does happen. Okay, now we need to add more of our flavor. So we've got, it calls for 2 tablespoons of chili powder, but I'm using this Well Your World chili lime because it's so good. This is a 1/2 tablespoon measure, so I'm going to need 4 of these. And I like this because there's no salt in it. It's very, and I don't need the salt since I don't have tomatoes without salt. And we need 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, which I have tamari. I have the 50% lower sodium. So again, this is before because it's 2 tablespoons. Ooh, it's getting hot over here. And we also need 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. Use whatever mustard you like. I have this Dijon mustard Chardonnay. 1. Nice thing is if you do the mustard after, when you have another ingredient in there, it kind of just falls out. There you go. Whew, getting hot, hot, hot. And we need 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. Okay. That is 1 teaspoon measure. And 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. So I'm using rice vinegar. And this might just finish that up. I might not even have enough. Oh, there we go. I had plenty. And then some pepper. It says you could add salt. Of course, I'm not going to add salt. If I want salt, I'll just add it at the end. And then I just need to stir this up. And then we'll start adding everything. And then what you're going to do is we're going to let this come back up to a... Well, actually, I need the rest of the water. Come back up to a roiling boil, and then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for about 40 minutes. My trick of, oh, this is going to be right at the top. Right at the top. Okay, so let's just stir this around. There we go. We're going to let that come up to temp. And then we're going to put the lid on it and let it simmer. So I'm going to turn down a little bit. This is my hot side over here. Okay, for here, we're going to add 1 cup of the 2 cups of water because we need to get some of the bits up from everything, from the hamburger and everything. Anytime you're frying something up, you want to get those bits at the bottom off. And so you need some sort of liquid to do that. In this case, we're using water to do that. Okay. Because the veggies needed about 5 or 6 minutes to start cooking. This is going to take about, I think this one simmers for 50 minutes. So they're going to be about the same time. Now let's add the flavor to this side. So this side also needs mustard. So we're going to use the same mustard. There we go. We have quite a collection of mustards because I love mustards and you can do so many things with mustards. Also needs Worcestershire. Gonna add some of that in. It also needs 3/4 cup of ketchup. This is what gives it that like when you get the can, right? This is the, I don't know, the ingredient that gives it that flavor and that texture that the canned manwich does. Get that a little bit stirred around. We're going to add the rest of the water to that. This one needs a hint of cayenne. So we're going to use, excuse me, we're going to add, what is this? 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. This is obviously optional, but Joe likes heat. This one also gets 2 tablespoons of that brown sugar. You see how easy it is to just take, so many ingredients do cross over when you do things, whether it be, and pepper, when you do plant-based cooking and standard American diet cooking. Okay? And then we've got our fresh garlic over here that's minced up. And now it's time for it to go in. We didn't add it earlier because we didn't want to burn the garlic, which is sometimes what happens if you add it in too early. Okay, so we need to stir this up. Get all that ketchup moved around. Okay, so using my same trick about cleaning out your cans with your liquid when you got a recipe, we're going to do the same with the rest of the ketchup here and the rest of the water. So it's a total of 2 cups of water. We only added the first cup. So here's the second cup. Just going to do it a little bit at a time so that we can get, ooh, that pepper's getting to my nose. All of this in. Now, when we come back, we're not leaving yet, but I want to just give you a heads up so you'll know. I think the pepper got both of us, honey. Okay, the last of the water. So again, this was 2 cups total. So we've got everything in there for both recipes. And what, half the ingredients were the exact same, which is fantastic. So again, we want to get this up, and this almost is already there. And it's going to get a cover, and it's going to simmer. I think this one's 50 minutes. They're right about the same amount of time. And when we come back, well, that smells like manwich now. Obviously, way better for you than manwich because it's all whole ingredient. You know, it's, you can read the ingredients. You can see the ingredients. Okay, so see, this one is boiling a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this down. We're going to put the lid on it and let that simmer. So in the case of the lentils need to cook. In the case of the hamburger one, the hamburger's already cooked. We cooked that we finished that up when we were cooking the veggies. It's more about getting the veggies more tender and having the sauce come together. So now this one needs to go down also. Now I will be hanging, it's like I'm going to leave the house for the 40 to 50 minutes that it takes for both of these. So I'll be watching these. I'll be adjusting the temp if I need to because I don't want them to just boil for 40 minutes. This is supposed to be a low simmer. This one to make the sauce and this one to cook the lentils and make the sauce. But when we come back and we serve it, we are going to serve it 2 different ways. Both ways will work with either Sloppy Joe. And then I'm going to make a slaw to go with my Sloppy Joe. So we'll see you back here in about 50 minutes, and we're going to plate everything up and show you how we're going to serve. See you then. Welcome back. It's been 50 minutes. Both Sloppy Joes are ready to go. They have been turned off, but I want to show you my quick slaw with ingredients I had in the fridge. So I happened to get Napa cabbage this week, and I hadn't finished all of it yet. So I kind of grated it, chopped it real fine, shredded it type situation. I've got some celery that I just chopped up super thin, and then carrots. So it's about 4 cups of the Napa cabbage. You can use any cabbage that you like. It's about 1/2 cup of the celery and about 1/2 to full cup of carrots. Just depends on how much you have. And then I want to add some sweetness to this. So I've got an apple that I'm going to grate. So I didn't want to do this before we came on camera. So this is a very large apple, so we'll see how much of it I actually end up putting in. The rest of it I'll just have as dessert for dinner tonight. Because this is our dinner, is Sloppy Joe's. The other thing about the apple and grating it is it's going to add extra moisture to the slaw, which I think is good. Because Napa cabbage is not one of the slaws that's really moist. I guess moist for the lack of a better term. I don't know what else to say. But this is going to be so, so good. And this was an apple from the haul from a couple days ago. So this way we'll use that up. And I got new apples yesterday. Okay, so let's add this in. Move this over here. Move this apple over here for later. Now, there is going to be lemon juice in this dressing, so I'm not concerned about the carrots, or excuse me, the apples turning once I get this dressing on. So let's talk about the dressing. Super simple. So I am going to start with some tahini. You could, if you don't have tahini, you could actually just put sesame seeds in a blender with all of these ingredients and create the same recipe. I have the tahini, so that's what I'm going to use. So it's 1/4 cup of the tahini, which I have right here. So we're going to put that in our mason jar. You know I love to do the mason jar salad dressings. We also need 1/4 cup of the lemon juice. I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to put the lemon juice in here. So same thing. We're going to turn it over. You just have to make sure you get it into the mason jar. And so when you do it that way, you're actually flipping this inside out and you get more of the juice, versus most people think they put it in this way just because that's where it sits in there. But that's actually not the way you want to do it. So this is a very big lemon. It's going to give us a lot of good juice. The other thing I didn't do, I did it before we got a camera, and I should have done it on the camera, is another thing to do is roll your lemons or your limes on the counter before you cut them open or do any of the getting the juice out. It just helps to get the juices flowing for it. Okay, next we need a tablespoon of maple syrup. There we go. We need 2 tablespoons of any white vinegar that you have. Today I want a little because we've got the sweetness in there from the apple. So I thought jalapeno lime would be good. So we need 2 tablespoons of that. Again, use whatever. If you like dark balsamic vinegars, use one of those. It'll just be, it's a dark dressing, but that's okay. Use what you have and what you're going to eat. And we need some miso, which I keep in, I got this at the Asian market. And so we just need a teaspoon of this. So I'm going to get my teaspoon out, which is this one, and just dig in here and get out. This kind of will add a little bit of salty flavor to it. It's the best I can describe it. And then we need 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder and onion powder. This is going to make the best dressing. And then if you don't use it all, you can use it later in the week for a different dressing. But I thought slaw would be great with my sloppy joes. And since I had everything, I thought, why not show everybody how we're going to make this happen? So into the jar. And then we get our little bit of arm workout and shake, shake, shake. Give it a taste. Oh, perfect. So we're going to add, look at that. I'm not going to add it all. I'm just going to add about 1/2 of it. It makes about 2/3 of a cup. And then stir it in. You could also do this and then let it sit for a little bit. I just didn't do that this time. It just kind of depends on how much time you have and what you're looking to do. Now we're going to add a little bit more. You never want to put all of it on at once because you never know. You might not need it and you can't take it away. You can only add to it. So it's always better to err on the side of caution for that. And while I'm stirring this, I did want to say that if you're making the sloppy joes, whether it's the lentil or it's the hamburger ones, if you don't have ketchup, or maybe you've got a little bit of barbecue sauce and you've got a little bit of a teriyaki sauce or a bunch of other sauces in your fridge, you could add those instead of or in addition to the ketchup. Use some of that stuff up, and that's a great way to do it. So this slaw is perfect. Okay, so how are we going to serve? I am going to serve mine on baked potatoes. So we have these gold potatoes from our garden, and all I did was nuke them on the potato setting. That's simple. So I'm just going to open them up to make like a little avenue to put the lentil thing, not spaghetti, Sloppy Joe's on. And then Joe has a brioche bun with his. So let's come over here and show you what everything looks like, and then we'll plate everything up and we'll do a taste test. Okay, so we'll start with Joe's. Voila! So it looks like his meat was not as lean as, you never know, as we would have hoped. So next time we'll have to, drain some of that off, but you just never know when you get the meat how it's going to be. But we are going to drain it off for his sandwich. Now, do you want open face or do you want it? Okay. With Sloppy Joe's, everybody knows it's a lot easier to do that with the open. Okay. Smells good. All those seasonings. It doesn't smell hot from the, what do you call that? The cayenne pepper we added. Okay, so let's give him a fork. Put his here. And then for mine, voila. Yum, 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 yum. Look at that. Oh my gosh. So if you wanted it more, I would say, more liquidy like Joe's, you could add more water. I personally like it thicker like this, so I'm happy with this. So we're just going to lay that over the potatoes, just like that. Yum, yum, yum. And then I'm going to put some slaw on the side. Slaw just, to me, brightens it up, freshens it up. There we go. So, honey, you want to come in and give this a shot? It's going to be hot. My hands are sticky from that apple. So juicy. You want the knife? Okay, so let us know in the comments, do you have a special way that you cook Sloppy Joe's? Why am I having such an issue with that today? I'm going to try it just on its own, and then I'll try it with the slaw. Eating this way is so good. Okay, now the slaw. That has a good balance of the sweet from the apple, a hint of the jalapeno vinegar, the crunch of the Napa cabbage, and the celery. That is good. How's yours?
That's all the flavor of the canned manwich stuff. It probably could have been thickened a little bit longer on the stove just to help bring it together. Or you could probably add a little bit more ketchup if it doesn't come together this way. But as far as flavor goes, it tastes literally, if I close my eyes, I'd never be able to tell the difference.
This is a winner, guys. So let us know in the comments, would you give both a try? Here's another thought. You could, if you wanted to maybe introduce lentils again, you could do either recipe, but do half of it ground beef and half of it lentils or another kind of bean. I would do lentils because it's more similar to the how tiny the ground beef is. Oh, there's Basil. She's come to check out what's for dinner. Huh, honey? Say hi. Say hi to everybody. She's our rescue. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. Let us know in the comments what your favorite way is to make Sloppy Joe's. And if you got a unique ingredient you put in it, let us know and we'll give that a try. So thank you so much for joining us. And I'm not sure if I said it before, but I'm Sheila and Joe is the one behind the camera. And if you like what you see, if you could subscribe, that would be fantastic. We'll see you next week.